it's not often that someone makes a return to basketball after spending the offseason in a Russian gulag of some sort. Like, it's not a small story. She's going to keep.
I'm not certain it's ever happened before, Dan.
No, it was really weird.
That's correct. It's a story that can't quite get enough coverage in sport.
It was really weird reading like all the WNBA preseason like things that are like Elena Deladon is back after like back injuries, and Brittney Griner's back from prison. She hasn't played a game in 574 days or something like that.
Yeah, no, it felt a little unfair discussing her situation in the same situation as, hey, can Courtney Vandersloot help the Liberty as much?
So, it was bizarre, yeah.
It was strange, but it's obviously like the most heartwarming thing. And then her second game being the first one home, and she was, she lost it a little bit, was emotional. And I mean, I can't imagine anybody experiencing that and just getting right back into your profession. And she's sitting there in front of everybody and like getting all the adoration and still performing. It's
Dude,
crazy.
I lost it. They did like this big pregame thing for the Mercury and announced all the players. And then right before she came out, they played I'm Coming Home. And I was like, oh shit. And Lee was like, oh, is this game live? And I was like, yeah, it's starting right now. I was like trying to pretend I wasn't crying.
I mean, it's not the most common story. Like the NFL sits here and tries to wrap itself in all sorts of patriotism. A returning star to a sport that was a war hostage? Like, I mean, that's the story.
And she had 4 blocks and a double-double, I think.
And, is a pioneer in luring us to caring about that sport and not getting paid enough while playing it here that she has to play overseas where a vape gets her traded for a merchant of death.
I also thought it was interesting when someone asked her about standing for Jamel Hill asked her about standing for the national anthem, which she hadn't done in a while, and she was like, "Well, I felt differently this time after being not in the United States in such a terrible situation." And I don't know. I thought it's sort of interesting to hear like how something so monumental that happens to you can, I don't want to say shift your perspective, but all of a sudden it felt like a very visceral experience for her. She was just like, I think I need to stand. And it wasn't political in that same.
Oh, but it can't help but be political, right? Because this is legitimately a trade for a war criminal. And of course it's political. And people who are shouting, liberals who are shouting, it's a victory for America, while conservatives are yelling, terrible trade, what are you doing? It's a merchant of death for a woman who represents what she does, right? Black woman.
But it's not
not just black woman, but a gay woman. Mm-hmm. Sports star in an ascending sport. And we've made it very hard for her, a huge political symbol, to say, not going to kneel like Kaepernick did, because my country came through for me at the end. My government came through for me. Maybe not America. Maybe not the American people were fighting with guns about stuff, but my country came through for me here. Like, obviously, in a way that can't be disputed.
Well, it's the perfect example to me why you don't really separate sports with politics, because sports to me is community. Sports to me is, you are rallying with people that you don't even know to support a group of people that are representing your area, right? And so for Brittney, she was a local sports star. She was a Phoenix Mercury star. But then when she got detained and it became an American story, she was an American star. She became, embraced by all of us and showed that support. So to her, it felt like she was in an arena where obviously one side is the enemy and then the other side is her support, is helping her out. And she comes out the other side and says, well, I can't disrespect that. That's my people. Those are my community. And so when we do this in sports, whether it be something as large as, celebrating the return of Brittney Griner, or something as, simple as wearing a patch on your jersey to represent, a group in your community that needs the support, that all is just what sport is to me. Because it's not the Jerry Seinfeld we're talking about laundry here. It is real, the good feelings that bring people together, and all of that has to do with those around you and that community around you. And so when she feels that support, she suddenly says, man, it's not just Phoenix, it's not just Arizona, it's not just, Baylor, it's the entire country that's supporting me now, so I can't sort of disrespect that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not even like a disrespect thing, because that is the way that like it's turned against people who are trying to make make a stand, for lack of a better term, to bring awareness to an issue. Like her kneeling during the protests in 2020 and to bring light to Breonna Taylor is her caring about the country and wanting it
Yes.
to be better. And I think like we can get really in the weeds on like, you know, standing for the anthem or not or anything like that. But I think like what we saw this weekend was a tremendous show of support in both games, the game in LA and the game in Phoenix, from the women's basketball community, which is the community that led the forefront for her to come home. That was remembering her every single day. That was, you know, tweeting about her every single day, wearing her initials every day, had the initials on the court last season. And like they were the ones that didn't let her forget, didn't let her be forgotten, and made sure that she knew she wasn't there on her own. And so I think that it was really emotional because I think the women's basketball community knows how loud their voices are when they are all standing together and doing something. And a lot of times it gets drowned out because, like everyone, you know, likes to talk about, they only get 5% of the coverage, right? Like we sit here and talk about all these like anthem things get, you know, top headline, and we don't actually talk about the games.